All right, guys. Dreadnought's back today with another review, and glad to be back after the drama that unfolded last night. For you guys that just started following us on Twitter, I'm sure you saw what happened with last night's review. But up next is our Star Wars The Black Series Walgreens exclusive Darth Vader with the Emperor's Wrath. Looking pretty cool here in the package. It does have the new packaging we've seen with the Force Awakens figures and a cool depiction of Vader there with some electricity coming out. I'm liking that. Looks pretty good. No number for the figure here. It does say Darth Vader, Emperor's Wrath. Nothing much going on the other side. And there's a look at the bio if you want to pause it and read it now. So let's crack this bad boy open and get a look at him. And here's Darth Vader out of the packaging. Looking okay overall, I got to say. Hasbro did get a few things right on this figure, but sadly there is a lot of problems with this figure as well. And I'll go into those in more detail as we get a closer look. And as we take a closer look at accessories here, you can see the lightsaber, not much different from the original version we got. Mine's a little bit bent, needs a little heat to straighten it out. You know, solid paint apps on it, not much going on, just silver and black overall, but the sculpt is pretty good. Does have the removable blade, which I like, and does plug in fairly easy and holds in place pretty well. So, you know, okay overall. Also comes with a hand, and this hand comes standard on the figure, plugged in, and you can see it's got a peg right there that plugs in like so, but it is unable to pivot, and it just barely plugs in. The hand does not want to stay in place very well, and I noticed when you're putting the lightsaber in, really just starts to work loose really easy and comes off real easy. So, you know, for posing him, I would say put the lightsaber in first, which is a little tough to do. The hand doesn't really fit the lightsaber very well. Got it in there, and then we'll put the blade back on. And then plug it into the figure like so. And it plugs in fairly easy, you know, but it doesn't allow you a lot of range of movement. You know, it only twists around like so. So, you know, I'm not really liking that, you know, overall with the way they did the hand. It is cool that it is removable, but, you know, it just has a stump hole in there, and, you know, and it has that peg in the middle, which looks kind of cheesy to me, you know. But anyway, now as we get a closer look at the rest of the figure, and looking at the sculpt here, you can see, you know, it does have that clear, transparent plastic. And honestly, my helmet, I actually thought it was removable. This is not Hasbro's fault. I actually rocked this off and removed the helmet. I thought it was removable because I saw the lightning in here behind this, and I actually thought it came off. But obviously, it's not meant to come off. It is glued in there, so you know, that's not Hasbro's fault. I did that. But anyway, the head does pop off fairly easy as well. So I think you probably can do some head swapping. And we may try that a little later in the video. But the sculpt is okay on it. I do like the fact that they did the lightning bolts in here. But really, when the helmet's on, you really can't see it. So, you know, I don't know if it really gives the look that we're really going for here with the electricity. You know, I would think more of a skull rendition underneath here would have looked better. You know, and maybe doing the figure in pieces of translucent, you know, in other spots maybe. But my real issue with the figure is not just the head sculpt. It's with the quality of the figure itself. And you know, if you watch my videos, I'm a big supporter of soft goods. I think the right balance of soft goods looks really good. And I have the previous Vader, and we'll do some comparisons, but this looks very cheap to me, the way they attach the cape. You know, there's a little string in there. It just slides, you know, the cape kind of hangs back with the strings tied with the holes right here. And it just looks really crappy, you know, overall. Hasbro did not do a great job with that. The paint apps up here are fine. They're clean, nice silver and black. You know, it's got some decent paint apps on the chest, but even gets sloppy in the buttons here. You know, not very clean. And then this is just horrible. This cloth here looks torn and just it's frazzled, and you can tell it's just really coming apart. Looks very very bad. Just a horrible job on Hasbro's part here, quality control wise. You know, that just really takes away from the figure. This figure, in my mind, looks like, somebody's played with it for a long time before I got a hold of it, and I just cracked it open out of the box. Other than that, the paint apps on the belt look really good. Nice colors, the green, the silver, all that looks good. Nice texture sculpted in on the arms. We already talked about the arm here with the hand that comes off. I do like the paint apps, with the wire, to give it that wire look, and then, nice texture over here on the gloves as well. So all that looks okay. The legs look good down through here. Nice texture all the way through the boots. Looks good through there. Oops, the helmet popped off again. And you can see that texture all the way through the back. But, just really, really poor craftsmanship. The chain we saw in the first version of the figure, and it looks okay. Let me get that back over his head, or try to. But I'm just disappointed overall in the quality of this. Obviously that chain does not want to go back on, so we'll pop his head off and put it back on. Alright, so the headless Vader here, and then we'll put the chain back in place. And there we go there. And there's his helmet back on. So, yeah, overall, just very disappointed. Sculpt-wise, it's okay, but just some poor craftsmanship here, some poor paint apps, and the cloth or the soft goods, just really, they did a very, very poor job on this Vader. And looking at articulation, I'm going to take this off just because it's popping off so easy now. The head moves up a good amount. Doesn't really move down. It's hindered by the plastic here. You've seen me pop off the head several times. It does turn around, has some pivot in there, so all that's great. The arms move out only that much. I cannot push the arm up any further. It is hindered by this plate in here. Does rotate all the way around like so. Has single jointed elbows, which kind of sucks. Does rotate at the elbow. Does have a hinge on this hand, which it does fairly well. And of course on this hand over here, like we mentioned before, no hinge. Does seem to have ab crunch, but it almost crunches to where it should forward, and then it has a lot of crunch back. So that's cool for getting in a few poses there. Hips move out only that much. They're hindered, and if you'll see, this leg is just really, really loose. More speaking to quality on this figure. I don't know if these were rushed, but this is just, becoming a really disappointing review overall. Upper leg rotation, which is actually really, really tight. That does rotate in there. Double jointed knees, which is good. Does have no cut at the calf. Feet do not rotate, but they do have a hinge, which hinges pretty far down and hinges up like so, and then has that nice ankle rocker on the bottom there. And as we get a comparison here, I wanted to look at our first Vader here compared to the new Walgreens exclusive. You can see, most of it's very similar. Same hands really up here, same sculpting, same mold pretty much overall. The differences are, minute, but they are there. You can see the buttons here are more cleanly painted than we got here with the sloppiness. You can see, like I said, with the strings in here, I actually didn't even know that the cape was attached on this one with those strings like that till I started pulling on this one and looking. But you can see how tight these are, so they were unable to be seen, just in normal posing. I actually had to tug at them to find out because they were so tightly sewn on it, which you can see here, it's almost falling off the back of the figure. You can see the cuts on the fabric here around the box are just nice and clean. They seam right up to the box here. Can't even tell, that it's really, a difference there. Whereas this one's all just coming apart, tattered and torn looking. Just looks awful. You can see how they did with the cloth around the waist piece. And this piece is actually almost falling off. Whereas this one's nice and tight. The cloth is fitting right where it should. Just a whole lot better construction on this figure. It's like they took their time on the first version. Now I know no one's a big fan of the head sculpt on this one, and me myself, I think it seems a little bit off. But the presence of this Darth Vader sculpt, I think is spot on. I have the SH Figure Arts, and I'll compare it in just a moment. But I just like the presence of this Vader. He's big and he's bulky like he should be. And you can see they used that same head sculpt here. But everything they got right on this one, I feel like they didn't go far enough with the Walgreens. I feel like it was just, rushed through and it was cheap. I didn't mention this before when looking at it, but these do have weights on the cape. There's cloth weights, but it keeps it in place. And both of them have it. This one has the same thing over here. But anyway, there they are in comparison. You can see they're pretty much identical. Just craftsmanship is the big issue. And now just comparing him to himself here, after looking at him compared to the first version Vader, I wanted to get a look at another one just to see if this was, just a poor craftsmanship with this one figure. But as you can see here in the box, and I'll try to get some light on this over here, you can see here in the box, same things going on with this figure, and this is a totally new figure. It isn't as tattered as this one is, but you can see the cloth is all loose. You can see the strings around the cape up here. Same thing going on over here that we had there. So that's really disappointing that this wasn't just a one-off on this figure. It seems like this is just rushed production in my mind. And here's a comparison with our SH Figure Arts Vader that I mentioned earlier. And there's our Black Series Emperor there. Looking at them together, they look pretty cool. Like I said, this one definitely has more presence. If this guy's going to pick him up over his head, I think it looks much better on this guy than the SH Figure Arts. Whereas I think this guy is much smaller in scale in comparison. Looking at them together, it makes me think this is probably a custom job for me, especially since I already broke the helmet on it. Maybe try and electrify them a little more, and it almost makes me wonder, is this supposed to be tattered? Is this going to be, what they're saying is supposed to be worn and coming apart because he's frayed after battle? Maybe that's what they were going for. If so, I still can't give it a pass in my mind, because it's just poorly constructed. But, I'm actually thinking about removing some of this cloth and just really tearing him up to create a great battle scene, with the Emperor electrifying him. All right, and wrapping up here, I thought I'd do a little head swap action like I mentioned earlier. This is the original Vader head on the Walgreens. If you're trying to get that look with the hand missing, that looks pretty cool overall. One thing I did notice when swapping the heads is the molds on the helmets are not identical. They did use a different mold, it looks like. This one's actually much bigger, and it actually will fit almost inside the black one. So that's kind of neat. And then I also noticed that the face sculpt, and I'll just show you this against the mask from that one. The eye sculpting is a little bit different there, so it did get a little new sculpt action on this purple one. The other thing I noticed, since I did break mine, is I mentioned that it would have been cool to have like a skull in here, and I almost wonder if that's not what Hasbro was going for. I just don't know what mold they used in here. It looks like it was poured inside the plastic, maybe, or I don't see it. Well, maybe it's seamed together. I can't really tell. Could be a seam in there, but it looks like a nose and stuff in there. So it could actually be this head sculpt inside here. I don't know. So maybe that's what Hasbro was trying to go for. It just didn't come off that way in my mind. And by the way, these are easily, by far, the easiest head swap for a Black Series figure. Pops off just really, really easy. And this one pops on fairly easy as well, if not for the fact that I had broken the helmet. And there he is again. So, overall I gotta say, just not a great figure from Hasbro. It's a pass for me overall. I honestly think, even as a completionist, I can't recommend this figure. If Hasbro was going for tattered and torn Darth Vader and unraveling and just junk a little bit in my mind, then hey, they achieved that. But I honestly don't think these were intended with the soft goods. This just doesn't look like something that would be intended on the figure. I don't think the head sculpt nailed the look they were going for. It's a nice try at it, but they just didn't pull it off. So, overall, I have to say it's a pass. It's easily one of the most disappointing figures from the Black Series I've seen so far. And there's a group out there that wasn't really happy with this Vader before. This will just add fuel to the fire of the dislike for this figure mold. So, there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up. Also, if you're not, please follow me on Twitter. Like I said, we had a little action last night with Christopher Reeve Superman from NECA that I was trying to do a review. And if you want to see some pics of how that went, definitely follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Description's in the link as always. Toy Arc as well. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We've got plenty more content coming down the road and more video reviews coming up. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.